Hey everybody, it is You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions. And this week my first question comes to me from Larry Barthel, who says, Hey Steve, over the past few months, in light of the Ferguson riots and subsequent grand jury results from the Michael Brown case, you have a decidedly anti-police bent to some of your commentary in your videos here. However, in other videos, your response to some questions has been that you go to the police for whatever it was that needed reporting. How do you resolve between the two? Do you really feel that all police are antagonistic, power-hungry bullies that are eager to shoot black men on a whim? Then why would you trust them for other issues and seek their protection and aid? Also, how about your local law enforcement? Do you see similar leanings from them in your area? I'm comfortable to believe that most police are upstanding, trustworthy people who, if you go to them for help or if you call them in a state of emergency, they will come and they will help you and they will do what they can to see that the law is upheld and to see that whatever your need is met. But that doesn't mean that there aren't real problems with police in general, and particularly with the unfair and uneven application of the law when it comes to issues of race. These are institutional problems, but it doesn't mean that every single cop is like a horrible person or a racist who's just frothing at the mouth to be able to kill a black person. As for my local law enforcement, I can't recall of a specific incident from Hagerstown Police or Washington County Police where something like that has happened. But in Martinsburg, which is literally like 5 minutes down the road from me in West Virginia, there was a case very similar to the Michael Brown and Eric Garner cases a few years ago, where Martinsburg police ended up killing a black man who was probably mentally ill and posed no serious threat to them at all. I think it was a group of officers. I think there were a total of, either 3 or 5 police officers. I haven't looked up the story for a while, but there was a group of armed police officers who had this man outnumbered, and I believe his original infraction that drew their attention to him in the first place was just that he was like walking in the street or something, and he was probably schizophrenic and was not completely in touch with reality at the time that they confronted him, and they wound up shooting him to death and killing him. So yeah, that sort of thing does happen, or at least has happened relatively recently in my local area. Big Swede 7403. Question, Steve. Aaron Ra, a man I, besides this particular point, admire very much, once said that either you are a feminist or a misogynist. Do you agree with this statement, or do you, like me, consider it divisive? Or do you, like always, have your own opinion on that matter? I think I understand what Aaron was saying there. I, too, respect him tremendously. The few times I've had an opportunity to speak with him directly over Google Hangouts or something like that, they've been incredibly enjoyable experiences. I'm a huge fan of Aaron Ra. I think I get what he's saying. I take his meaning, and I agree with him. The only change I would make is I feel like it's fair to leave room for people who don't really care about the issues at hand. I think it's possible, just as it's possible to not believe in God or to believe in God, but to not really care, to not be religiously devout, or to feel like you have to identify as an atheist. I think it's also possible to feel that way about gender issues. I think it's possible to not really care one way or the other, or to not really feel like you identify yourself as a feminist, or to, people don't identify themselves as misogynists, but they display certain attitudes that sort of categorize them as misogynist. I think it's possible to just be ambivalent to the question, and in that case, I don't think it's fair to say that someone who just isn't interested in gender issues is a misogynist. So yeah, but in general, look, I think the question that Aaron was getting at there is either you believe that women deserve the same rights as men and deserve to be treated the same as men, or you don't. And in that sense, it is kind of a black or white binary choice. But I would leave a little bit of room for people who aren't really that interested in the question to begin with and don't really deserve either label. A skeptical owl. What do you think makes life worth living for you personally? I ask because I have just been feeling rather down lately, and I just feel like there's nothing that could make life worth living for me, and I'm hoping you might have some insight that might make me feel better. Well, I don't know if I'll make you feel better or not. I mean, unfortunately, there's not really a switch that you can flip that will automatically make you feel better or make you feel like life is more worth living. There are many things that make life worth living for me, most of which probably wouldn't apply to you because they're personal things about my life or about things that I do, things that are important to me. But if I had to pick one thing, if I had to answer the question directly and succinctly, as I have already failed to do, I would say I have an incredible curiosity about what is going to happen next in the world. I cannot wait to see what happens next. And that is something that I have always felt. I've always wanted to watch and see what happens, and perhaps to play my own small role in whatever is going to happen. Both in my, and obviously I want to see what happens next in my own personal life, but on the grand scale. What will be the next great medical breakthroughs? What will be the next great conquest of human exploration? What will be the next great technological advancement? What will happen? What is going to happen next? That to me is a huge, huge motivator for getting up in the morning and for going out and engaging in the world, despite the depressing and discouraging things that happen to us from time to time. So if I could say one thing to you, it would be that. Andrea Langley Sharp. Question. Do you think that the evolution of religious conviction from only I am right and physical confrontation to emphasis on personal interpretation and peaceful coexistence is the best step toward dissolving the relevance of religion in society? I consider myself a Gnostic atheist, but I feel like the dampening emphasis on I'm absolutely right when it comes to religion is an excellent foundation for the questioning of one's beliefs to be considered more acceptable. I have said this before in private conversations with people. I don't know if I've ever said this in a video or not, but if you are a religious person, but you feel that your religion compels you to be a good person, to help other people, to be charitable and compassionate, and you don't see your religion as a justification for hatred or marginalization of other people, and you don't feel that your religion entitles you to impose the standards of your faith or the laws of your church on people outside of that church, then I don't have a problem with you at all. I would like to think of you as a friend and an ally against fundamentalism, as opposed to thinking of you as an enemy because you believe in God and I don't. I think that religious moderates could be great allies of the secular movement, if not necessarily the atheist movement, because religious moderates are the most likely to be open to pluralism and tolerance and respect of people from different faith backgrounds. And in terms of the atheist thing, they're probably more likely to question their beliefs than are fundamentalists who have that I'm right and everyone who disagrees with me is wrong mentality. I agree with you, and I think both strategically and in terms of just how we should treat other people, atheists who speak harshly to moderates and alien and try to do things and act in ways and talk in ways that alienate religious moderates from what they are saying are shooting themselves in the foot. I don't think that's a good thing to do in any way. Mommy, touch my leaking rectum, please. Dear Steve, thanks for answering my question, but if you can also answer part of the question you forgot to answer, or maybe you did and I just didn't hear it. I was also asking, how can I or us as an atheist community handle hate, revenge, and anger, or feeling violated when it comes to religion because of the harm it had on us? And how did you personally get to the point where you have so much compassion and understanding toward religious people? And have you ever struggled with hate or anger or revenge or feeling violated toward religion or religious people? Thanks. P.S. I am not part of a bet. My username is just something crazy because I think it's funny. Although I did get a kick out of hearing you say it and react to it. Not my intention. Well, thank you. That's good to know. That was mostly a joke. I didn't really think that there was like a pool of people competing to see who could get the craziest username on one of my videos. But I just thought it was a funny thought. And you do have a very distinctive username. Mommy, touch my leaking rectum, please. As for how you handle anger or hate toward religious people. I am fortunate that I don't feel that I have ever been really mistreated by religious people or by religion in general. The times when I feel real anger toward religion or toward religious people are when I see things being done to other people. I've never felt that myself. I've never been victimized personally. But I mean, when I see acts of terrorism carried out in the name of religions, when I see fundamentalist parents allowing their children to die of treatable illnesses because they don't go to the doctor, they'd rather pray for a cure. When I see things like that, I mean, it does make me angry. I do get angry at it. And the best way I can tell you to deal with it is to try and, if you need to express that anger, express it, but otherwise try to channel that energy into something positive. Try to articulate that anger. What is it about terrorism committed in the name of God that makes you angry? What is it about parents using their religious beliefs as a motivation to neglect their children that makes you angry? Form the thoughts, express the thoughts, share them, try to speak out, maybe add your voice to a chorus. Maybe you can help convince people that these sorts of things shouldn't be tolerated, or that the way we handle them is not the way we should handle them. If you feel real personal anger, like if you have been abused or harmed in some real serious scarring way by religion or by religious people, I mean, maybe you could talk to someone. Maybe you could talk to a counselor about it. If it's something that is really like troubling you, where you feel real anger and hatred toward religion and religious people because of an experience you've had, maybe that's something you could seek out actual professional counseling for. That might be a good thing. But the sorts of anger that I feel, the sort of abstract, like, why do we allow these things to happen? Anger, I think that is best sort of purged and then redirected in some sort of positive direction. J. Lawman DK. Hi, Steve. I know you've mentioned it in your latest 5 Stupid Things video, but what are your thoughts on the recent shootings in Paris? And what do you think about the response it has gotten? Do you think we're promoting free speech by making more drawings of the Prophet Muhammad? A few people asked about my response to the Charlie Hebdo shootings and specifically the drawing of Muhammad in response. Sick of Washington also asked, what do I think about the proposal that we should all just start drawing Muhammad like crazy? First of all, in case I need to say it, I think that the Charlie Hebdo shootings were an atrocity. They were an utterly reprehensible crime. No matter how offensive people might have found those cartoons, no matter how offensive someone's speech is to you, you do not ever have the right to answer that speech with violence, and particularly deadly violence. It's just not cool. It's just not on the table at all, ever. As for the drawing of Muhammad, I'm kind of two minds about it, and I talked about this a little bit when I was on the Skeptic Fence show last Saturday. On the one hand, I do think it's important to send a message to people who might sympathize with the terrorists or feel like maybe the terrorists were justified in what they did, or maybe they kind of had a point because, after all, these cartoons were blaspheming Muhammad. It's important to send a message to those people that acts of terrorism and acts of murder should not result in the terrorists getting what they want. We should not respond to incidents like the Charlie Hebdo shooting by saying, okay, you win, we won't draw Muhammad anymore, or we won't disrespect Muhammad anymore. I think that's just the wrong solution. But at the same time, people who say what we should do is we should just draw Muhammad every day and we should really just throw it in their face and show them that we're gonna increase the blasphemy as a result of this instead of decreasing it. I think that's kind of a glib response. I think anybody has the right to blaspheme any religion that they want. If you want to draw Muhammad and you want to draw him in a really crazy, mocking, ridiculing way, I think you should have the right to do that. I don't think you should feel afraid to do that. You should be able to do that without fear of threat or repercussion, period. But I think the response has to be more nuanced than just that. Because I've said before, if we encourage strife and violence and resentment between Muslims and non-Muslims, we are giving terrorist organizations like the one that was responsible for this shooting exactly what they want. We should be looking at Muslims in our communities, especially in places where there's a lot of tension between Muslims and non-Muslims, and we should be reaching out to them and trying to make friends with them and trying to make them feel included and wanted and part of the overall diversity of our communities. I think that is the worst thing that could happen to radical Islamic terrorists. And I think that's what we should be trying to do, not just saying, well, they shot people because of blasphemy, so let's all just do some blasphemy. Okay, if that's what you want to do, I think you should be allowed to do that. But I don't think that that by itself is the answer. And I don't know, maybe that was Allah agreeing with me. Not that I fucking care if Allah agrees with me or not, because I don't care if he wants me to do it or he doesn't want me to do it, because he's not the boss of me. I'm the boss of me, and I'm the boss of this show, and not because he says, because I say. It's time for
the lightning round. Rapid fire questions, glib and adequate answers.
Brian Hall. Hey Steve, I had to ask. I know how to make pizza from scratch. Rules: pick only one ingredient from the list. Okay, I'll just go through these one line at a time. We'll see what kind of a pizza I come up with. Okay, meatballs, pepperoni, or chicken? I'll go with pepperoni. Bell pepper, red, green, or orange? Let's do red. A nice red bell pepper on the pizza. Poblano pepper, jalapeno pepper, or Anaheim pepper? I have never had the other two, so I will go with jalapeno because I don't like to try new things. Fresh basil, fresh cilantro, or freshly ground black pepper? Ooh, I don't know. Let's do cilantro. Feta cheese, mozzarella cheese, or provolone cheese? Mozzarella, old school. Red onion, shallot, or Sata sweet onion? Well, let's do that sweet onion. I like that. Yeah, so thanks for reading this one. Well, there you go. There's my picks for your homemade pizza. I hope it turns out delicious. If it's not, I would really blame you, not me, because I just picked words off of a list and you're actually the cook. I'm sure it'll be great. Dervunderbarbar, what is the coolest invention you've ever wanted to create but never did? In my case, it's a dream recorder, where one could record dreams on VHS tapes. This was almost 30 years ago. And in my mind, it looked like those old Magnavox machines with an internal 12-inch CRT monitor. Today, it would, of course, be less bulky, use either SSD discs or Blu-ray for the recording purposes, and have HDMI connectors for connecting to flat-screen TV or monitors. Well, that's very practical. As long as we're just pulling ideas out of the fucking sky and it doesn't have to matter whether they're realistic or not. How about a jetpack? Were we promised jetpacks by now? This is the 21st century. Where are our fucking jetpacks? If I had the power, I would invent the jetpack. In Matthias we trust. Hey Steve, I don't know how much CNN you watch, but they have a guy on called Don Lemon who has made a number of sad but also hilarious gaffes, most recently in an interview about the Charlie Hebdo attack. Do you think he is a serious reporter? Should he be fired or kept on for the lulz, Matthias? If the only reason to keep him on is for the lulz, then he should be fired, or at least taken off TV, moved maybe into like a producer or a writer role. But yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. He has said some kind of, embarrassing things, and yeah, if the only reason to keep him on the air is for the lulz, then I think he should be off the air. That's, of course, under the premise that cable news should be treated seriously and that their responsibility is to deliver the news to people, not score ratings. So maybe I'm completely off base. Havard Hegenhogen. Hi, Steve. When do you pick out the questions from the comments? Or rather, at what point is it better for us to just wait until next Friday and ask our questions then? Oh, that's a good question, actually. I have been shooting these videos on Wednesday nights. So you should probably get your question in by, let's say, Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, my time, which is Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Time. So to make sure that I will see the question and have a chance to select it before I shoot the video for this week. So go for Wednesday. Try to have it in by sometime on Wednesday. Radical Bacon, so what's the ugliest flag? Yeah, I said the Maryland flag was the most beautiful flag. Actually, my vote for ugliest flag would go to another local flag. It would go to our Washington County flag. I think the flag of Washington County, and my wife is laughing over here because she's heard me say this before, the flag of Washington County is the most hideous, most poorly designed flag I have ever seen. It is an artistic it is an artistic atrocity. I have no love or warmth towards it at all. In fact, I'll just really brief. I know it's a lightning round, but let me just show you a picture of it. This is the Washington County flag. It's just George Washington's big old fucking head. And the line that kind of forms a W that I am told is also meant to represent the Potomac River in some way or something. It's a fucking awful flag. It's a hideous flag. Why the fuck do we have that flag? Yeah, anyway, it's kind of a sore spot with me. I'm sorry. JJ Watt? Dear Steve, who would win a fist fight between you and Ashley? Would you employ the classic tall versus short tactic of outstretched arm with hand on the forehead of opponent while she flails her arms in windmill fashion? Or is she too quick for you? I am pretty sure that Ashley would win the fist fight because I really feel that my lack of killer instinct would be my undoing. I'm not saying she wouldn't feel bad about it after the fact, but I am saying that it is entirely possible that in the moment she would kill me. Zachary Amaranth. Hey Steve, suppose for the sake of this question that the God of the Bible decided to prove himself to you. Suppose also for the sake of simplicity that he is the God of the Bible in the sense that he is petty, jealous, angry, and vengeful. You now know that the way to heaven is to worship him and his son, and that the alternative is eternal damnation. Would you worship such a being to avoid eternal torture? Sorry for the downer question. Oh no, I think it's a hilarious question. I would not worship him, not because I'm such a badass that I would just turn my back on God and say, I'd rather go to hell than worship you, you son of a bitch. I just don't think I would be capable of it. Even if I believed that the God of the Bible really exists, I do not think I would be capable of loving and worshiping and obeying a being as vile as the God of the Bible. I just don't think I have it in me. So it wouldn't even be a matter of choice. I would go to hell, which is fine because I always wanted to meet Christopher Hitchens anyway. Psionic Dreams. Here's my question, one for the lightning round, I think. While I was watching An Atheist Reads God's Not Dead Chapter 1, I was distracted by the green and silver object behind your right shoulder. It was the Starfleet emblem that caught my eye, I guess. What is it? And as a Star Trek fan, do I want it? Enjoying your work here on YouTube. Keep on keeping on. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. See how dusty it is? It's this thing right here. This is my full, complete DVD set of the entire series of Star Trek The Next Generation, which was a gift from my lovely wife several years ago. It is one of my most treasured collections, or my most treasured possessions, even though all of these episodes are now available on Netflix and on Hulu Plus. So if all you care about is having access to the episodes and you're a Trekkie, I mean, you don't need to spend all the money and get these DVDs. You can watch them on Netflix or Hulu. Yeah, that's what it is. It's Star Trek The Next Generation on DVD, and I love it. I treasure it. Even though, strictly speaking, I don't really need it. Old Comic One. Steve, your And Now the Good News series is focused on science. Do you read science journals? Do you go to science websites? Where do you find your information? The best resource I have for the And Now the Good News stuff is the website Science Daily. Science Daily is great because not only is it like a great sort of aggregator of new science and technological and medical news, but the articles always link back to the original source. So if there's a breakthrough at a university, you can follow the link and go directly back, to the university page or the press release from the journal where the paper is printed or whatever. It's a great way of not only finding the news, but tracing it back to the original source. So ScienceDaily.com is a huge source for those And Now the Good News videos. Well, that's it for the lightning round. That's it for the questions this week. Shout-outs are a little full this week. I actually have 3 shout-outs to give. My usual YouTube channel shout-out, and then 2 very special shout-outs, so I hope you'll stay tuned. First, the standard shout-out this week for someone else's YouTube channel, very long overdue and very deserved, goes to ThinkStephtically. This is the YouTube channel of Stephanie Guttormson, who is the operations director of the Richard Dawkins Foundation. ThinkStephtically is an awesome channel. She does videos on critical thinking and debunking pseudoscience. There's a great video debunking some of the sort of anti-GMO paranoia. There's a video on debunking the anti-vax movement, and they're relatively short and really well informed. She's really great at this, and she also has a video of a talk she gave at an atheist conference in 2014 on transgender issues. And Stephanie herself is a trans woman, and it's just a really great informative talk on transgender issues and questions about what it means to be transgender, what you should do, how you should treat a transgender person. It's a really simple answer, by the way. You just treat them like you treat other people. But yeah, it's a really, really cool talk and really interesting, and you should check that out, plus all of her other content. It's awesome. ThinkStephtically. Very, very highly recommended. Now, the next shout out is something a little special and very cool. Some of you may remember Soretta Yuki. He is a fellow YouTuber. He kind of still pops up every once in a while and does a video, but for the most part, he doesn't do the YouTube thing as actively as he used to. But he is one of the people who I am very, very happy to have befriended in my years doing this on YouTube. He's a great guy, and he has a band. He's in a band called Cobalt Sons, and Cobalt Sons is about to release an EP, and you can hear the first track from that EP called Welcome to Cardiff if you go to their SoundCloud page. If you go to soundcloud.com, and the link to the actual track is in the description box of this video. So just read the description of this video on YouTube and click the link to go to SoundCloud to hear Welcome to Cardiff, the opening track from the new upcoming EP from Cobalt Sons. It is really cool. I highly recommend it, and I really hope you all go and give it a listen and check it out, because I have no idea between Yuki and my pal Jason Brené, I don't know how I got to be friends with so many like incredibly talented musicians. It's weird because I am exactly the opposite. I have no musical talent at all, but it's so awesome to be able to live vicariously through my musically talented friends. So check out Soretta Yuki's band Cobalt Sons and the first track from their new EP, which is titled Welcome to Cardiff. Do it now, please. One last shout out. And this one is really, I said the last one was special, and it was, but this one is not only special, but kind of different. So the final shout out comes to me at the suggestion of a viewer. It's from S. Secular Scholar. And S. Secular Scholar says this: "Hello, Steve. I know you don't know me, but I have a request. The love of my life just died recently. Her name was Alexandra Daniel Luter. While she preferred to be called Allie, I think her full name was beautiful. It is because of her I want to believe there's an afterlife. I know that's selfish, but it's what I want. Anyway, what I'm asking is not a question, but a request to immortalize her here on YouTube. Shout her name out at the top of your lungs. Let the world hear her name and remember. I'll understand if you want to talk about other things as well, but please shout her name out for the heavens to hear. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you, Brian Height." Stick with me. I'll be back in a second. Brian, this is for you in memory of Allie. Alexandra Daniel Luter! Brian, I hope I got that right. That's it, everybody. Leave a comment on this video if you want to ask me your question for next time. Ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I'll answer as many of them as I possibly can. I'll see you next time, everybody. Take care.